off. Okay, so welcome to the monthly training for July, and like I said, August. This is standout staging, I've called it, where we're going to go into a little bit more detail. We've had quite a bit of chat in the group over the last, what, 10 months is it? About this sort of thing, and people have shared their pictures, and we've worked on things. But this is taking it that step further, and you're actually going to see me in action with some help, ably assisted by Judy Anaya. I do hope I've pronounced that right, because I've only ever said it in my head, I think, up to now, who has a lovely group, a membership called Thrive, which I've recently started working with. Personally felt it was time to take my own staging up a notch. So I've learned a lot, got to a point where I just wanted to take it up a level. I wanted it to be magazine ready. I wanted to, really make it pop. So we've been working together. So I'm actually going to show you one of the examples of the piece, and sort of show you that sort of transformation as it goes through from literally the first shot to the final shot, just so you can see what's possible, really. But I think the amazing thing about it has been having another and an expert pair of eyes to look at something for you as well. That's what has been, you can get very close to it and you can't quite tell if something looks good enough or not. And that's just really great to throw it out to Judy and their team, who you kind of put it together, and then you'll come in and give us a sort of a critique and sort of.
It's fun to collaborate. Really, that's the idea, is to collaborate, to work with you on establishing a look that can be your own personal trademark and your brand.
Exactly.
And even if they don't see a watermark, they say, oh gosh, that's done up north, or that's so and so. It's about establishing a look that is your very own and that clients recognize. Can I ask you something? Have you gone over with your group, like, settings as far as like how to set your phone for photography?
No, and that will be a useful thing to go into tonight. So the format I was thinking of, and I'm really happy to make this as fluid as possible. So if there's things you want to chip in as we go through, just, useful, lots of tips, and hopefully have a bit of fun watching me trying to stage live. But no, I haven't. I've gone through, and I will go again through some of the things that I do in terms of how I hold my phone. And what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to just show the sort of transformation of one piece from the, I don't know why it's just showing you, but that's great. That's great. You're our special guest, so that's fine. The webinar is being weird. And then I'm going to go in and I'll start doing some stage on this piece behind me. And I'll talk through my thinking that when I'm doing it. So maybe if you don't critique me to start, but if you want to chip in any tips or any sort of relevant things, that'll be amazing, things that you think of. And if anybody's got questions, they can throw them in. If we don't pick them up at the time, we can do them all at the end. We can sort of go back. I've got some bits from some of the people that couldn't come live tonight to cover at the end, some things just to ask you about. And then maybe I'll get to a point with my staging where I'm like, oh, I'm not sure about it. And then that's where you can bring your expertise in and sort of maybe, sort of finesse it and maybe grab some other accessories. The one I've got here is particularly challenging for me because there's lots of spaces. It's got a long top, and it's got lots of display space, and it's got a cupboard, and have I got enough accessories? It always feels like you haven't quite got the right thing. But what I loved about working with you and your team is it's around the things that we've already got. So you're not sort of going out and spending lots of money and you've got to have this and that, the other. Although I do think there probably is a kit that's quite useful to have, some useful things to hand. I like the fact that we can set something up and then you'll work with that, obviously with creative sort of input as well as we go along. Yeah,
a lot of times we have people go outside and clip pieces of their bushes or flowers from their garden. But we try to work with what you have as best as and then give you ideas for, just for example, if somebody does a lot of drinks cabinets, glass is something that carries no visual weight. So it looks pretty in person, but as far as in a photograph, it's almost transparent, and it also has the disadvantage of creating lots of ugly, like reflection issues.
Yeah.
If you have gold paint, or silver paint, depending on what the, what the accents are in your cabinet. You can take and spray some inexpensive
Yeah.
glass that maybe you got at the thrift, and you can have something that's really impactful and cost you next to nothing.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
things like that. We try to push you to be creative with what you have and to just take that up a little bit extra.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was in here just before spraying some of my accessories. I've always got gold spray and black spray on hand. In fact, this particular, talking of which, one of the earliest things I learned in staging, this was glass to start with. So it was totally see-through. And one of the earliest things I learned was when I was going out buying stuff, this was actually from a charity shop, was that the things I bought a lovely black wire vase. It's not really a vase because it was wire and you couldn't put anything inside it, but as soon as I put it on there, it was just like it wasn't there. It was sort of see-through. I've got a lovely decanter that I keep trying to use, but it's glass and it doesn't, the black background definitely does help to some extent with these things. But as soon as I sprayed this gold, it became a bit of a something that I could use every time. Yeah, that's it. So
And there are
spray paints, or even a bit of the paint from the color that you've painted it in. You can paint a small object to sort of bring that sort of that color through.
I have, so always think about the form. When you see something, don't worry about what color it is. If you see something at thrift,
shape, yeah,
has a really cool shape or a really cool vibe to it, you can always alter it. And I also have girls that are hilarious. They will paint one side silver and the other side.
I have one of those. This is silver and gold.
It's so brilliant because if you do
it
both,
needs to be. Yeah, I've got some things that are copper on one side because I was doing quite a bit of copper at one point. This, for example, is from a charity shop and it's a lovely shape, but it was literally brown, like brown. So sprayed gold. And nobody cares if there's a few drips. No one's going to see that, are they?
No, those are things that really won't show in a photo. So always keep in mind, if you see something and it's nicked and you can get it at a discount, just grab it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. No, it won't
There's
show.
Some very inventive things out there as well, isn't there? Yeah, very inventive. I like the idea of the foliage. Obviously, you need to also think about who you're targeting at. So for my work, probably putting branches or something from the garden with it wouldn't always necessarily translate if I'm doing something that's quite mid-century or quite, so we kind of need to think about the decor of the person that might buy it.
To help you is to make sure that the style of your furniture is vibing with the style of the staging accessories, because you don't want to have a farmhouse look on MCM stuff that's very clean and modern, and then you can be too minimalist on something that's maybe more of a romantic piece, something that's French and has a lot of curves, more feminine. You're going to stage that in a different way. So it's really just helping you to make sure you have a cohesive look and everything's coordinated.
Yeah, that's exactly what I found. So let me just show and I'm not sure why the webinar is not going between the two of us. Hey ho. I'm going to share my screen though and show through something that we did recently together. Let me see, screen might not be the best option. Let's just share a folder. Find the folder, that'd be great. Not showing it. Is that it? No. Oh, there it is. Yeah. My glasses are letting me down. I just want to show this folder so I can just click through it. Just the quickest, easiest way to do it. So this is a piece that we, let me just move that back up again because it's silly. That I did recently, the Fusion New Colours piece that Judy helped me with the staging of. I just want to show you how I kind of went through that process. So let me just go to a couple of options for my staging. You didn't get to see these, Judy, because you put your best foot forward in the group of what your staging was. So this was one of my, this was literally just thrown on. And as you can see, the colours weren't cohesive at all. And the styles really, I think round leaves, pointy leaves didn't really feel right to me. It didn't really have enough presence either, so that didn't get that far. I don't know what you would think of that, but and as you can see, these are very rough shots. This one, I nearly sent this to you, but then I opted out to remove this vase and put a little bowl in instead, little wooden bowl. Perhaps just a bit too much going on there. I don't know what you think. So the one we went with that I sent to Judy was this one. just at the very start of the process. And as you can see, it looks a bit bleached out. And what I realized was I needed to turn the lights off so that the photographic lights could get the most quality out of the picture, so they weren't being sort of dazzled by the light coming down from above. They could hit the piece correctly, and then, you know, the photo could get all the quality. So it just looks a little bit like there's not as much quality in the actual image if you look at it there.
I think Rochelle's saying she can only see the thumbnails and not the larger photo.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that. Did somebody just say, oh, thank you, Rochelle. Why is that happening? Okay, let's just stop share and I'll just share my screen. Thanks for pointing that out. Let me go back a step. Okay, so yeah, so this is where I started.
There you go, better.
Sorry about that. I thought it would share the contents of the folder with me as well, but there we go. You live and learn. So yeah, not very sort of cohesive sort of things going on with the colors there. But the other thing I should also say is that I've realized you can obviously change some of these colors post-edit if you're sort of computer savvy or savvy enough to edit your photographs. I've done that before with, like, I had a disco ball and it didn't really go with the colors, so I actually changed that to like a golden disco ball to go with the colors of my piece, but that's obviously a little bit fiddly.
So if we can talk about this for 1 second.
Yeah, of course we can.
So your pot with the spiky leaves is very cool, and it's very kind of sculptural looking. Your container is really good, and your wooden bowl, because you're bringing the colors that are in the front of the piece,
Yeah.
you're bringing them up to the top and repeating them, because what you don't want is to have like a cacophony of a bunch of colors that are not related
Yeah.
to the piece. And then another tip is, when you have any wood details, green always looks amazing. I mean, that's trees, right? And greenery, right?
Point.
So that's why, Mother Nature really does a great job with her color combinations. And so that's why greenery and wood always looks wonderful together. So all these elements are working well until we get to, I think they look like they're maybe like eucalyptus leaves.
Yeah.
They're kind of fluffy, and they're a little bit, they would be fine for like a farmhouse or a romantic piece, but they're a little wimpy for an MC. And so I think when we talked, I was like, get some leaves that are more sculptural.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, they're a bit dusty looking as well. I mean, the color's quite nice with the right color piece, but
MCM, you want like bold silhouettes.
Yeah.
So your next choice is awesome.
So the reason why I picked them in the thinking, and obviously I completely agree with you, and sometimes you work through lots of, variations that just get discarded, was just that I was looking for height really there, but it wasn't quite the right thing. And then you're looking around, what else have I got? And so then we moved on to this, which is nearly what I ended up with. But we also made some tweaks, which I will show you. But the one thing I changed before I sent it to you is I removed the vase, which I do like, and I like the texture of that against the bar that's behind, but maybe they're all a bit too similar. And so that's why I brought the bowl back in.
It's the height that's the issue there.
Yeah, too samey.
You want
variations of height.
Interest. And so you create that by different textures, different colors, different shapes. And so when you have something that just goes, the eye goes all the way across, you have to almost think of your staging as like music, right? If it's just one tone, it's very flat. But when it the beats of a song, it has a rhythm, and that's what you want for your staging also, is you want to make a rhythm for the eyes. Yeah.
There's nothing more frustrating than buying a new accessory out and about, and you think this is going to be perfect for this piece of furniture, and you get it back and it's the same size as something else, and you're like, how can I boost that up a bit, just so that I can get that sort of the height differential so they can sit together nicely.
Books come in. Books are really great.
Yes. Yeah.
Use them to create differences in height, but that's a great piece, and I can see why you picked it, and you will definitely use it again, because it's awesome. It's an awesome silhouette, and I like the texture.
Like a lot of people, a lot of their things they stage with will be their own from home, so these are actually mine from home. So what I actually did was I took that out, because I have I guess people probably will find this as they go along. You'll have go-to little bits that you just think, what would I do without that? And mine is this wooden bowl, because it adds that smaller item in front of two other items of different heights, and it just picks up the color of the wood. And without it, I'd just be scratching my head so much. So this is the one that I sent to Judy. And I do struggle a bit with this particular sculpture because it's got a funny little gap here. So, but what I do try to do is to overlap my items. So, I mean, I possibly even would want to overlap the side of this statue with the photo frame a bit, so it's clustered. But we'll see in a second what the amendments were. But obviously, that's working a bit better.
And you were definitely on the right track with the overlap. You want to build a grouping that looks very cohesive and not separate items all in a line that are more jarring for the eye. You want it to be one big wow.
Yeah. And what I was also thinking about here is, and as you'll see, it got even smarter, but I was trying to make sure that I lined up my items with certain points of reference, so it didn't go beyond halfway, whether that's a thing or not. But for me, it was sort of like, I wanted that cluster to not just be in a random place on the top. It wants to kind of, yeah, but also we don't want too much height. So it's very tempting to put lots of images on the wall, pictures on the wall, you know, like people have gallery walls now, but that's taking the emphasis away, up and away from your furniture, isn't it? So we need to keep our eye. That's why the artwork is just propped on this one, or hung very low in an unusually low place than where you'd normally hang them, I guess, at home. You
always want to have that. You always want to have that connection with the furniture, because at the end of the day, you want the focus to remain on the furniture. So however you're manipulating it, you want to move the eye, which will scan from left to right, just like when you read. It'll scan from left to right, but then you want it to return to the center of the piece. So if you have a longer piece or a modern piece, a lot of times, that's why we put the staging on the left, is so the eye can see it across and then come back to the center.
It definitely feels funny. I'd never even dream of putting it on the right. It's always straight to the left, but yeah, it's funny.
And that's because naturally because you have some good design sense, and naturally that's how the eye sweeps left to right and then comes back to center. And you just always want to, sometimes it's helpful to take a photo and then look away and kind of with fresh eyes look at it and say, where does my eye travel to? Because you always want it to land back in the center of the piece, because that's what you want the customer to do.
I've designed this one so you have to look in the middle, because the arrows are pointing there, drawing you in. I should point out here also that this shot is probably, you know, obviously it's not totally straight down one side, but it's also a bit tight because I've done it in a portrait way, and I think I'd want to take it, I'd want to give myself more space so that I can do edits to it and things. So this was a quick photo that I sent to Judy, but I would obviously want to get a bit more space.
We're working that those photos are typically will work, and we'll establish where the staging needs to be, and then I'll say, okay, take a great shot. A lot of times,
I mean, I've made the mistake of shooting some like this in the past, and then I've had to actually go into Photoshop and extend the canvas either side, because you do need a bit more room to maneuver.
You want them breathing all the way around. And then another super important thing that a lot of people, a mistake that they can make is, especially when you turn your phone into landscape, you can see that the camera, especially on an iPhone, is all the way to one side. So if you centered your phone, where's the lens going to be? It won't be in the center. So you want to make sure you adjust.
And you can see that a little bit in my shot, that it's a little smaller on one side than the other.
Not bad, but really good. I mean, you'd have to have a very discerning eye to see it, but in general, that's usually what causes that, is that rather than centering your lens, you're centering your phone. So, and then if you have any bit of crookedness from side to side, you know, front to back, you're going to have issues with one side of the piece will look bigger because of the angle. So a lot of that you can avoid with just remembering that, oh, gosh, I need to center my lens and not my phone.
Or have the grid on, which is quite a useful way of sort of checking that you've got straight lines on the side. I also would suggest for people, sometimes when I struggle to get the, to stop the phone tipping when you take a photograph and you're tipping because you're trying to look at it, and then that makes the bottom of the piece sort of pinch in and go sort of straight. So I find sometimes actually just getting a tripod, which will stop me doing that, because then I can move back and have a look at it. And that also means you can make sure you've got a consistent sort of shot, and you're not, because I find when I'm doing it by hand, often they have the same little sort of, because of maybe what I do when I take the picture, maybe I just move a little bit, human, you know.
If you're holding your phone for your photo and you're holding it and you're tilting it towards the wall, it's going to make the sides go in as they go up, and back. If you tilt it back towards you, they're going to go out as they go up. So
I couldn't remember which way around it was, but I know that it's the temptation is just to tip it forward a little bit to look at it, and then that distorts your picture, which we know we've talked about in the group, that we can sort that sort of thing out with, you know, because we did a Photoshop masterclass a while back. We can sort that stuff out with the perspective, and again, that's going back to why you need a more canvas than this, because then you can do those edits afterwards, because you're going to run out of space if you. But really, the less edits we have to do, the better, isn't it? Because it takes time.
The better the photograph that you start with, the better the end result, because every edit is adding a layer of stuff.
Yeah. So, and it can throw other things out, can't it, when you start doing the perspective.
So that being said, when you take your photo and you're like, gosh, you know, it's looking pretty good, double check yourself and look at the sides and make sure that they're vertically straight. Look at the feet. In this photo, for example, you can see that the left foot is forward of the right, which is also causing, remember you had said one side's a little bigger than the other. The left side is larger because
and then we realized afterwards that one of the legs wasn't on straight, but it actually doesn't look too bad here. It was on straight, it wasn't splayed.
Oh, no, but I'm just saying,
across this level here,
it looks forward. Remind about that leg situation. I'm just,
but this side here looks further down. Is that the one you put? Yeah.
Well, it looks forward of the other foot. Like if you're comparing, if you don't look at the leg shape at all, if you just look at the feet, if you have a line forward, then you would definitely, then that side of the piece is going to look larger than the other.
Yeah. Where I helped myself to get the right picture at the end was because I've got a very clean line between obviously wall and floor, and was checking that the gap here was sort of, you know, the same. This is obviously the rough first shot, but kept checking that line there was correct as well.
Still a really good shot. It's better than 9 out of 10 shots out there.
Sometimes you overcompensate trying to get those straight lines. You end up going the other way because you're desperately trying to make sure it's straight. So where did I go next? I went to let me just. Oh yes, this is the first one I did with you. So obviously I got some more information. As we discussed, I went a little bit, I cut a bit too much of the floor off, unfortunately, which you definitely want a bit more to play with there. But you can see we've adjusted the height of the first Monstera leaf, I guess it is, to bring that down, because there was a really bare stem there, wasn't there? So it sort of brought that into more of a sort of clustered shape, and it then obviously means it sort of sits behind the statue a bit better. What else did we do? I'm not quite sure.
Do the next photo and we'll know.
The next photo was where I actually, can I do this? I don't think they're in order. That's why I'm doing it in a slightly awkward way. I think it was more about getting the shot line and the feet. I think that's probably what it was. So there we go on to just using photographic lights, and you can see this one's not straight either, but I've just grabbed one out of my photos today to show the difference once I've actually turned the main lights out in here. So
I think in this one we lowered the stem of that.
Oh, we've gone again. We've lowered even more.
So it wasn't the stalks. There wasn't that blank space.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, that's it. So we've got rid of this.
Sometimes it's just the smallest little things, but it is a game sometimes of just inches.
Yeah, but it does look much better. And then with the lights, of course, that just illustrates. The colors pop out, and I haven't got all that light coming down the front and stopping the, you know, the camera getting all the lovely quality and sort of detail. And the leaves look a totally different color. But obviously I need to do some edits to this, because you can see the holes in the wall, you can see some bits and bobs, but that's, you know we can do that. Obviously I've got a great big stonking thing there, but it's possible to crop that out. And then I just thought I'd take it through to the edit. Where are we up to? Shot 4. Where did I go to? I think we did that one, didn't we? Yeah, so this was it cropped in, ready to edit. So you can see I've done a bit of healing. I've taken some of the holes in the wall away, but I've not done very much else. That's got its proper leg gap there as well. But you can see there's a light bouncing off the wall there as well. So this is where I've taken it into Snapseed and done some more edits to it to actually make the wall sort of a lot more consistent and sort of darker, so your eyes brought forward. I did have some issues, I will say, across the front here because I didn't want to distort the colour too much, and I found that I was getting darker spots with my lights which I've actually bought some new bulbs. I'm not quite sure if they're just not quite bright enough. I actually literally had the lights behind me shooting straight at it because I was getting a dark spot in the middle. So I've got some little bits of shadow there that I can see, but perhaps that's because I'm getting very specific with it.
And sometimes that's just a matter of trying to adjust the angles on your lighting, bringing them a little wider, or if you have glare that you're fighting because your piece has glass or it has a lot of sheen to it, then there's also, I don't know that I can, maybe I can just show you this, but this is something that can be really helpful, is you take your lights and they're, can you see, let's see, there. So you take your lights and they're, does that work?
Yeah, because you're full screen now. Going so right across the front. Yeah.
So rather than aiming them to the glass and you've got all that bouncing, you're aiming them really more towards each other. So sometimes it's just a matter of just taking a deep breath and playing around with your light and adjusting them.
And swearing a bit, sorry, but it happens because I get a bit like, especially if you've got something that's, black or shiny or with glass. Yeah, it can be a bit like playing around,
But that's something where if you angle your lights a little bit away, that helps with, if you do have like a very glossy dark piece, like a black piece or a purple piece or a rich navy or something, and you're having trouble with the lighting, that's something that you can try. That's a pretty easy easy fix. Yeah,
this one was funny for me, this shade of gray, because it just wasn't getting the light on it just from coming across, so I had brought them in front of it, and I don't know if it's because the rest of the piece was so light that was grabbing the light, and the gray just looked really, it just looked
but the vinyl
grubby.
Good. You did a good job.
But doing the exposure to sort of darken the background and take away that glare has also meant that when I'm editing, if there is glare on the corners or something, I know that I can just knock that down and it's not going to grab your attention so much. So the post editing, it's important, isn't it, just to get that extra finesse on your pictures.
It really is. And do you use Snapseed too?
Yeah, I use Photoshop for quite a bit of stuff, but I use Snapseed to do the exposure. I just find that much easier, more comfortable. But I think some of the group might use Lightroom, which is another tool you can use, but I think that's a bit more difficult to use.
And so, and also, you've probably recommended a stylist to people.
No, we haven't got that far yet. This is the start of all talking about so I think my group are just starting to really get into sort of a lot of them. I think we've got some
because it's quite a bit. So a couple things in Snapseed. The very first thing, if you're going to use Snapseed, is you will want to go into Snapseed settings. Okay, because Snapseed comes, the way that you download Snapseed, the settings are set to save at 95% JPEG rather than 100.
I just noticed this the other day.
Quality, you want to go into settings and you want to scroll down and change that so that it's saving in 100% quality, because then you'll get the best quality result. And then
I literally just changed mine the other day. After you said it, I was
like, you don't know
this the whole time.
Exactly. But the thing is, it's shaving off 5% of the quality of the photo. And so if you have saved something and then you think, oh, I'm going to go back in and just edit this one more thing, well, then now you've shaved off 5% first and then another 5%. So you're, so you can keep kind of degrading your image, and you don't want to do that. And then a stylus that you can buy and I can send you the link. They're easily available on Amazon. You can get two for around $12 US. So I think that's maybe like 10 pounds or something. And they'll come the way that they come. They're made in 3 pieces. So this part that you actually use is hidden. So I've had people struggle and say, I can't use my stylus. I don't understand.
I've got a quite simple one. My one is only that bit. It doesn't have the other bits that you've got, I don't think.
So this is kind of, this tip, which looks like an eraser, is kind of good for doing larger areas, but so you have to unscrew the barrel and take the tip and turn it around. And then this, there's a, I don't know if you can see, there's a plastic disc on the end, and that's to help it to slide over the screen when you're working. But if you just take your time and you pinch and zoom, this little stylus is money. It just will make everything just crisp and clean and beautiful.
This is essentially what photographers do, isn't it, in terms of like enhancing their images? So, you know, it's a great skill to.
A lot of times they'll do it with you know, they'll do it on the giant. My friend that's like an amazing photographer, she has a giant Mac, and she's got a special, you know, they have all kinds of special editing tools and thousands of dollars of software, but it's the down and dirty way to do it, and it's super easy.
Yeah. And as we were talking about, if you have got a tablet, you could do it on that. It's even easier because you do have to look at a lot of pinching and zooming on a phone, and you can just be a bit more specific, I think, on a slightly bigger screen.
Yeah, and even just an iPad Mini, just a little tablet like this size, just brilliant.
That's my next purchase.
You will love it. You will be like, this is heaven.
Well, for I guess a lot of people won't have tried it, but I just think it's like colouring in. I'm just sitting there like nobody else is doing this. This is my job. It's very, I find it very relaxing.
Yes, it's like an adult coloring book. It's very nice.
Yeah. So we can have a little look at that in a bit more detail. But yeah, so we'll talk about the staging side, and then obviously we can move on to the editing side with people as they get images. Let me just check with the questions. Let me just see if we've got some questions about light. So what we'll do is we'll actually start to move on to, we'll do some live stuff. And then we can answer some of those questions. Yvonne's asking, do you use white lights or warm lights, or does it depend on the color of the piece? And I would say the answer is daylight light, but Judy might be able to expand on that a bit.
Well, the problem is if you do get warm light and you have a white wall rather than a black wall, it will make the white wall look kind of dingy, and it will give a yellow cast if you're photographing white pieces. So daylight tends to be the color of choice as far as bulbs and most of the kits that you order, like your box light kit, you know, you can order them on Amazon, and they come with the bulbs already.
So like this. So we did a training a while back, which sort of did an introduction to the kit that I think, you know, getting set up. But this is obviously a recap on those things. So these of mine have had a bit of a hard line. We're putting in spray paper. And I was saying to the guys when we went through this stuff is to go for the softbox rather than the umbrella, which the umbrella is better for portrait photography. It's more direct, whereas these are softer and diffused.
Yes.
And so you can see inside, I've got the old LED, the old energy efficient light bulb, but I think people are getting now the LEDs in now.
And there are some where the newer ones, some of them come with 4 lights within the soft box.
Wow.
So I think that's kind of an interesting concept because number one, if you lose a light, you still have more.
Yeah.
And then also too, if you find that you're getting too much light on something in a certain instance, you can probably, you know, unscrew it so that it's you working, and that's an easy way to kind of dim your lights.
Yeah, because I've advised if people are investing, and obviously it's not a massive amount of money. I think this kit was, and I got a backdrop as well, which, you know, obviously we've moved on from that now, but it's about £50. But what was I saying? I've said to them if they can, to get the dimmable style, so they've got some control over the amount of output, which I don't have because mine are older. But I have just bought LED versions of these to try, which are a bit brighter, they're like 600 watt, 6,000 watt instead of 5,400. So I'm hoping I might get a bit more out of mine. Yeah. So that's the style. And I think
those box lights are really like, they will last you and serve you much better than the umbrellas. The umbrellas just really tend to like be really flimsy, fall apart, and they're just
right. Yeah, not had one. Yeah, I used to work with an
use for people.
Yeah, I've actually ended up acquiring a third softbox for free, so that's why I've been buying new bulbs. I don't know if it would be weird to have 3 lights set up at once.
There's a new kit that you can find if you search photography light box set with boom. There's actually on Amazon, they have a boom that is a third light that you can put in the middle, and it actually has a weighted sandbag on the back, so you can adjust the arm of the boom, kind of like a crane, to put the light where you want it to. So that's something where I've heard really good feedback from people.
And I don't want the ladies to think they need to have 3. It's more a case that actually, I mean, we were saying it because I've got a really big space here. It's very echoey. It's got the fluorescent lights, but when I turn them off, it's suddenly like a cave, and it's like, do I need something to compensate that goes over the top? Whereas, I mean, it's the other thing to say, if people have got natural light at home, that's obviously a really great thing to have. I've just never had it. I've worked in my garage. I've worked in this mill building that's got no windows, so it's but if you've got natural light, that's,
you know, the thing about lights is that then you're not at the mercy of the weather. You know, if it you know, if when it gets to be winter and there's just so few hours of daylight, or in the summertime when, you know, the lights, the sun may be too bright, or you have a rainy day and you know, there's not a whole lot of light. So I mean, the light kit, just, you're not at the mercy of the weather. So
that's it.
Natural light, if you have it, is really amazing. And the people that are fortunate enough to do that, that is part of their look, because
it is absolutely. I totally agree. I was just thinking that there are people I see on Instagram who,
yes, there are some,
and I just think, I envy you. It looks like you just put the piece of furniture and then you do it, and it's lovely, and you've got a signature style, and it's, some of us have to work a little bit harder to create it. Kind of leads on actually to something that else that Yvonne was asking in advance, was about the floor and the wall and what are the best colours. And obviously I'm at the moment, I've got a black wall. I have got a setup for a white wall here as well. And I've got a piece of vinyl on the floor, and you can probably see the edge of it, but I guess I don't know how bright the floor is on camera, but it's literally just a small piece of roll, sort of like this, like out on the floor, because I make a mess. So I found that quite useful. I've had like laminate floorboards, you know, that you get in a box, just 1 pack of them, and you can put those down as a floor just about anywhere and then pack them up again. But would you, she was asking, is there a recommendation of colours that you would say for look professional, I guess?
No, honestly, it depends. That's something where depending on what you want your look to be. Like if you do a lot of light colors, you tend to do more romantic pieces, or you tend to do more of a farmhouse style or whatever, you might want a white wall versus a black wall. Black wall looks so amazing with like modern pieces or very bold pieces. But you know, that doesn't, it depends on, you have to think about who your client is and the look that they're looking for. And the style that you paint in, and then you can come up with the right. And here in the US, as far as for floors, a lot of the girls just buy a sheet of wood paneling and then lay that down on the floor, and then that's there, and it looks like hardwood. So and then there are girls where they have these big massive sheets of insulation panels. So they're very light, but they're like 4 feet wide and 8 feet tall. So you can put 2 together and lean it against the wall, add a piece of trim, and you're in business. Well, some of the girls paint one side black and the other side white. So they've got options. You know, so that was my old style. I had plywood wallpapered on one side and painted on the other. But to turn it around, I had to take it out of the garage, turn it around, bring it back in again, and a piece of wood pushed against the bottom to pretend it was a skirting board.
It's amazing what people can do to
Yeah, I mean,
fool the eye.
it just is. I mean, your setup I think works really, really well for you and for your style. But other, other people with different styles, if someone has a very more ornate or romantic style, or it's
Yeah.
more feminine, then a white wall always looks nice. You can't really go wrong with
No,
that.
you can't. That's absolutely true. Yeah. Yeah.
If you have one,
I'm going to start putting things in.
yeah, if you have one wall, and you do, then white is great, but black is very dramatic, and so the drama is beautiful as well.
Yeah.
I don't know, I like them both.
I think the reason why I've freed up a space with the white wall is that there might be times that I want my piece to stand out more. If I'm doing something black, and I do see people doing it, and I think to myself, I can't actually see your furniture properly. It's very moody, it's very nice, but how am I supposed to be able to see what I'm buying? And I don't mean it as somebody who's going to buy their furniture, but I think I want to admire your furniture, but I can't see it properly. So
right. And you really, and that's the trick, is that you always really need to remember that there's a buyer and out there, and they do need to be able to see your piece and see the details, and because you can't fall in love with something you can't see.
no.
So that's a really good point to keep in mind, for sure.
Yes, exactly. Right, shall I start getting some bits in this piece of furniture? I am slightly intimidated by this piece of furniture, simply because there are so many shelves, and normally I'm doing a piece where it's a drinks cabinet at most, and then I've got a little space on top to arrange, but this one's got 2 sets of display, and it's also got the cupboard in the middle and the top, which goes up and down. So I'm gonna, I've got some interesting pieces that are kind of unfortunate to have some things in the same colors. Yeah. But I know this is so. And this is also something I tell people. I love this stool for staging and doing anything really in here, because when you're photographing, you can just move around the piece rather than having to get up and off the floor all the time. But it also helps you stay at the right level, which I really like. So I'm going to sit on it the whole time, I think. But this is a bit nerve-wracking as well. I don't even know if you can see very well. Well, I have to put the camera in for you.
So are there a total of 6 shelves?
It's got, yeah, bring the camera in. This would normally, it will be lit up, but maybe I don't need to bring you in. I can't remember if I can zoom.
So
I should have brought it closer, shouldn't I?
Okay. So go ahead. You're gonna do your thing, and I'm gonna give you some suggestions.
Yeah. So one thing I do know is that I tend to, when I'm going inside of cabinets, is I'll do like an alternate thing. But I'm sort of looking at it now, and obviously I'm going a bit blank because everybody's watching. I will try and do different sides, like left, that's right, left, right, sort of thing inside a cabinet. But I think that looks quite nice there. But the problem is you can't have 3 things lined up. So, and if I was to use the same technique and put something on the top here, how does that look? This was a good idea in theory, but now I'm wishing I hadn't said I'd do this. I've got some little glasses. So I just put some stuff in, and then you've got something to work, haven't you? Then? Just be bold about it and stop worrying. And then I'll have a look at what Kelly's asked. She's asked a question about. She asked a question about staging. How many objects would you recommend in staging a piece? And does it depend on the size or scale of the piece of furniture? Which is quite an interesting question.
So if you have,
yes, then you'd actually put on it in real terms if you're using it at home, isn't it? Because you don't want to hide the piece with too much. So a drinks cabinet wouldn't be full of bottles. You'd only have a selection.
Well, again, it goes back to that, like to have a visual, a rhythm for your eyes, and you're using the same as if you staged a house and you were staging a room. You want to move the eye around and then have it land on the piece. So
sorry.
you don't always have to fill every section, every cubby. You can create groupings and then do something and do an arrangement that's kind of rhythmic. So we'll have fun with this one because it's a really pretty cabinet, and it's.
I don't know whether I need to pull it further forward though.
So to answer your question, as far as
you'll be able to see it closer when I have the camera on it. Actually, when I have my phone on it, you'll be able to see it better.
But her question as far as how many objects and the size and the scale is, you know, if you have a long piece, you know, like a sideboard, well, ideally, if you have a group, if you can create a substantial grouping with maybe some art and something on either side of the art that takes up about 2/3 of the space visually on the top, that's generally like ideal for that. But if you don't have enough to make a large grouping, then if you do something that's visually interesting and you do it on the left third, like we did with the one that Nikki had just used as her example, then that's a really great compromise. If you don't think you have enough items, then you go with the less is more, and you do that grouping with probably, you know, 3 to 5 items on the left-hand side. And then same thing if you've got, you know, if you have a tall dresser, you don't want to add to a vertical piece, you don't want to add any much additional height. So, because it makes it difficult for posting on a practical, you know, on a practical matter. And it also takes your eye up and away from the furniture. So you definitely want to just have something small and kind of low. And if you have, and if you don't have enough to build a nice grouping in the middle, then definitely do it on the left. Which also brings us to, if you're going to build something and you're going to put it on the left, but you'd like to add something in addition on the floor, well, then the item on the floor would go on the right-hand side, just so that you have balance. So you'd have the items on the top of the piece on the left, and then the item on the floor on the right. So that will give you, that weights it visually. Your eye will scan left, then it'll scan right and down to what you have on the floor, and then it will land on the piece in the middle.
This is where I don't feel I've got enough things, because look, nothing actually fits in the shelf.
Yes, you do.
I've got some other glasses that I've got. Like,
what else do you have that's gold?
That's what?
Gold.
Gold?
Mm-hmm.
See, I like these glasses because they've got the colours in, they're like black and red. Whether they actually work, I don't know. So I'll just go for it. Something gold, yes. That fits in there? No. This is exactly what it's like though when you're staging, because you're like just trying to find, it's like trying to find the right outfit to go out, and you're like, just need that right thing. So, let me have a look what else I've got.
It has a wooden detail, right? Do you still have your wooden bowl?
Yeah.
Okay. Put that in.
And you know that plant is a cop-out, but it's just easy on the top. So we can do something more specific and more interesting. Where would you put it? You need, yeah. What else? What else? I have a gold pear. I don't have many ornaments. That's my problem. Yes, this isn't very cool though. So, no, that won't fit in there. So, I've got a lot of glasses though. This is a gold thing, but I need to take the brand out. Right, this is where I start running out of accessories. And then obviously inside, I guess, it's just a collection of bottles.
Well, I would always, I would suggest do the closed shot first. Work on your main shot.
Yeah.
And that way, and then that way, you're not going in two different directions.
I know. I think I was trying to fit it all in tonight. Yeah. Let me just check the rest of the room. The gold things. Okay, I'm not quite sure what to put there that fits. except more glasses, which isn't really. So where would the bowl go? So I'll call on you for help now, because I've got things that are just a bit too tall.
Oh, I like the cat. He's cute. Okay, so what about okay, so the gold vase that you have the big green leaves in that you showed us earlier. So what does that look like? Yeah. What does that look like scale wise on top? Can we see that on the top?
I thought it looked a bit clumpy when I was playing around with it earlier, but I might let's give it a go.
Okay, so the thing that is kind of cool about it, and we might need to take out the greenery if it ends up to be too big. But the thing that's kind of cool about it is it has triangles on the diagonal, just like the pattern on the front of the.
Yeah, I know. That's why I collect these things. Yeah.
So that's kind of cool, right?
That looks a bit more open now without the heaviness of that plant, which was a bit too much, wasn't it? Still spoiling the line.
Yeah. But yeah, she's kind of a 70s chick, that fern. You know, all over the place.
Is that why I got away with it with the disco one, I guess? I guess I don't realise, which are different eras.
Yeah. And if you want, you could also try because the base and the knobs of the are black. You could try the cat up there with the gold base with the fern.
Oh, up on the top.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I'm thinking now that this is too heavy here, and maybe that should be over there with the glasses over here.
So, right. So let's see. Let's try the cat.
So you can see a bit more.
Can you put the cat on the left and face him towards the right?
Yeah.
Yes. Put him there and face him to the right. So he's overlapping so we can see him. Just face him a little bit more sideways. Yeah. And move. Good. Yeah. Okay. So, so you were on the right track when so your natural thing was, your instinct was, okay, should you move stuff to the top right shelf? So the pattern that I think would work best is if we did something in the top right shelf, the middle left shelf, and then the bottom right shelf. And then that way the eye's going to do a zigzag. So it's going to go from the left. So you don't need to do
zigzag in each side. I'm just thinking there's also one of the other ladies, Sherry, who's asking about display cabinets. So hopefully she will find this useful. So if I move him over here, did you say top right?
So you're going to do something on the top right. Then you're going to do something on the middle left.
Got you. So we're not zipping people around inside one display. So we'll move this. Okay. Yes.
Yes. So put that. So that can go. So do you have 3 of that type of color objects? The darker. Do you have 3?
I wish. I might miss this, but I do have this other thing, which is golden stripy, but unfortunately it doesn't fit. It's too tall.
Okay. So let's try. So let's try the 2. Let's try the one that's in your hand on the bottom right. Okay. And then let's keep both of those objects that are on the right side kind of in the middle for now. And until yeah. Okay. And then let's try, what can we do? You have the darker glasses that are on top that maybe they could go in the middle on the left.
What here?
Yeah. Okay. And then let's take those out for now. And then let's try adding.
You have 6 of them.
Let's try adding the wooden bowl on the right side of the jug that's on the top right shelf. Yeah. Kind of like a game show. Yeah. So move that. So move the item that's on the top right shelf. Top right corner. Yeah. So move that a little bit more to the left, and then more. Yeah. And then now put the bowl on the right hand side, the wooden bowl on the right hand side.
Yeah.
Overlapping. Yeah, overlap it a little bit.
Yeah, this is getting too advanced for me, Judy. I never thought.
Okay, and then center both those items within that shelf. Center them. Good.
It's like you're basically painting here, aren't you? Kind of composing.
That's awesome. That's really good. Okay, so so then let's work on the bottom. Do you have any let's see, something, if we had something small and gold, or something small that's like a sprig of greenery, or what about, okay, so so take that gray pot that had the pointy that was on the plant stand. Can you take it out of the stand? You know, your funky one that you tried with the other piece. Remember that?
What?
Remember you had there was a spiky greenery in a gray pot. No, it was the one that was in a.
Yeah. What, this thing? I don't think this thing goes.
Yeah. Can that come out of the stand?
No. It's so cheap that it was made as one.
Yarn. Okay. Does it, and will it fit? Would it fit on the middle shelf on the left?
And middle left.
Yeah, middle shelf. Does it fit?
Just.
Oh my gosh, great. Okay, so then do 2 glasses on either side of that pot of greenery. Put the pot in the middle, and then do 2 glasses kind of diagonal, like one back, one forward on each side. Because there's 4 glasses, right?
6, but it's okay. They can go.
Doesn't matter, you can either way. So the ones that are in the back, put them closer to the pot, and then the ones that are forward, put them a little farther away. So opposite how you just did it.
Okay. Oh.
Okay.
Dish. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then so now let's go to the bottom right. Okay. And then let's see if we add if we can maybe bring that piece more to the center, and then maybe you can add
A bit of gold in this pot here, this little one.
if you've got, okay, try that.
I'm not sure about that grey plant pot, but in your hands. Do you want it overlapped as well?
Yep.
You could do with a little tiny wee plant in that.
Exactly. Okay. All right. So now because you don't need tons.
And that's less than I thought, actually, to be honest. I was going to try to put something on every shelf, and I guess the lady is thinking the same thing. So this is quite liberating in a way.
Take one of those tiny red glasses that you just put back.
Yeah.
And see if it'll work overlapping on top next to the gold vase, the big gold container. Put one on the right hand side and see if we can.
What, here?
Yeah. See if it gives us, move it to the right.
It probably needs cleaning, to be quite honest.
Ah. Yeah. You can put 2, just move them to the right a little bit more. Still overlapping, but yeah, there you go.
Oh, okay.
We're just kind of looking to spread the color around. So in here, we've stuck to like a basic color scheme. Again, not getting too many colors going so we're using green, gold, and then, you know, the darker color of the bottles, which is sort of a black.
Still not sure about those sliding doors. Right, I'm going to pop the lights off.
And now you're going to have to work on the,
Yeah. I won't labour that too much. I just want to give people the idea. I'm trying not to sit on that the wrong way around because it just doesn't feel right. Right, I'm going to try and get this into the meeting if I can. Let me just check. Let me just quickly pop across to oops. Check there's nobody watching questions in the. Oh, right, I'll come back to that in a second. I can't actually see if there are any questions.
And sometimes you can use, you know, things that you have laying around, like drinks cabinets. Gosh, always have like lemons. Look fantastic for staging.
Yeah.
You know, things that you can use around your house, like limes, lemons. Those are great items.
I have my limes ready in case we've done the inside.
Yeah, and
I like limes because they pick up the greenery that I tend to use. So I'm a bit, yeah.
Exactly, and you can, you know, and if you want to toss in a lime, we can definitely put a lime in there in a couple of.
Yeah, I think that would definitely lift, like particularly the bottom.
Yep.
I'm still not sure about that grey. I kind of feel like I want to paint it gold or something. You know, it just feels a little bit like this. Do you put it down here?
Yes, you could put one. You could put it probably in the middle, in between the two. Yeah. And then if you've got another one, if you have another lime, put it on the left side of the jug that's on the top shelf. The top right shelf.
Oh,
yeah, left side.
Oh, because it's green there. Yeah, got it.
So now it's like a thread that's running through.
Yeah.
You've got the greenery and and you've got lots of nice, you know, movement with that.
Not sure that's right. But anyway, we can play. Start now. Are we on my screen? Yes, we are. Okay. So, will it work this way? I don't know. Oh, yeah. That's fine.
Yeah, you're right. It would be amazing if that pot was gold, the gray pot.
Now you can see the lights issue, can't you, as well?
Yeah.
Now this would have lights in as well that would be lit up. So that would be showing off the contents a bit more too. Yes. Yeah, I think I'd change that. That's the one thing I'd change is that plant. So do I need to go in with my lights across?
You said that the other one that you had that has the stripes that's gold and black.
Say that again, sorry.
You had a vase or a container that was gold that had stripes, like that was black and gold striped, but you said that doesn't fit in the cabinet. No,
sadly it doesn't, and the cabinet shelves don't move. Yeah, this is one of my old favorites. But oh, hang on. I don't know what I'm pointing. That's my staging collection over there. That's what I was doing. I was trying to show you something and forgot that I was showing you the camera.
You know what, if you want, you can go ahead and remove that. And then I think you have 2 gold glasses. You can put the gold glasses in there with the other smaller glasses instead of the pot of greenery. That'd be nice. I would pop the gold.
Yeah. I don't think I have any gold glasses.
What's that?
I don't think I have any gold glasses.
I just saw them on the shelf. Turn towards your staging items.
You've got eyes like a hawk.
Is it on the top shelf? What's gold on the top shelf?
Oh,
or maybe that's that
vase.
Too
tall, the Prosecco glasses. They probably put it on the top shelf.
Oh, darn it all. Okay.
I know. I definitely need to get some more squat items, don't I? So in this instance, would you think that perhaps moving this light up a little bit would help with some of that?
It's probably, so you can see how, right. See, you just moved it away. Exactly. How you're moving it away.
It's quite a long piece.
Because you don't want to see the light, because we can see the light box, we can see the actual diffuser.
Oh yes, no, I know that.
So you have to
what I would do if we weren't on live is I'd move the piece over a bit more so that I could get the light further to the left.
Or angle the light more
okay,
parallel to the piece and see if that works.
We can do that. This is the fun that we have with sorry if it's making anybody feel ill. I don't really quite consider the fact that I keep moving around with the camera. Maybe I should put it on a tripod and then that stays still and I can do the adjustments to that.
Yeah, that might work. That's hard. Glass is always the hardest. It's the
yeah.
first.
if I get that set up like that, it's not quite the right depth on floor, but at least it's not moving around every time I move around.
So try to mirror that on the left and see if it works.
The only thing is I can't see what it's doing. Oh, has it gone off? Oh. Are we back again? Yeah, sorry, that went off for some reason. So let's try. I'm a bit short on this side. That's what I mean. I've got there's a unit behind it, so I can't take the light back any further. Ooh.
And just think about all the calories you're burning. This is a good.
I know. Enough calories to go and have a large glass of wine when I've finished.
There you go.
I'm going to go up a little bit. Just see that there's. It definitely needs some tweaking about, but you can see the beginnings of it, can't you? Yeah.
So what we've done here is we're directing the eye from the left side up top down to the right top cabinet down to the middle on the left. So the eye's going to zigzag back and forth, just as if you like when you're reading the page of a book, and then we wanted to land on the center. So we've used we've worked in the colors that are in the design of the piece. We've worked in the gold, we've worked in the green to go with the wood tones. We've got a bit of wood in there as well, and we've repeated the greenery. So I think you're off to a good, a really good start.
Good start. So I might just do some shots, but not on the tripod, so you can see the sort of alignment we were talking about before in terms of perspective.
So it's not something where you have to really feel like you have to fill up every single shelf in something. You can do a design where it feels like it's balanced, it's got a nice rhythm to it, but it's not stuffed and cluttered. So
I'm just going to come up a little bit. Actually, I can see the bottom of the light.
You're doing
but
good.
If I come up a little bit, I'm actually getting level, aren't I? But then I've got to be careful because I'm holding the phone that I don't start to do that where the bottom starts to taper. Because I'm tipping the phone so I can watch it. So I need to kind of.
And then another something to be aware of. You always want to be aware of the things that you have placed on the side that you're not using in the frame, because they can cast shadows and make it more difficult. As far as editing, they can do funny things to the light. So sometimes, when I've asked somebody, hey, what if you move that away? It makes such a huge difference because it's blocking a light source or it's creating shadow or whatever. So just, also something to keep in mind.
Definitely. I wouldn't normally have those plants there. They'd either be in shot or out of shot, but just the purpose of tonight.
You can bring them to my house. I like them. You can bring them to my house. I like them. I
think 90% of them are plastic though, Judy.
I like those. they don't die.
Brilliant.
That's good. And you did a nice job adjusting your lights.
Yeah, that's not too bad because obviously I'll crop some of that off.
Yeah. And then, that's the nice thing about having a stylus and using the exposure brush in Snapseed. You can use that to lighten or darken specific things. So if you want to make something a little brighter or a little richer, you can do that very selectively. So that's another one where you can, okay, that's a cute child. Is that yours?
What was it? I don't know. I don't think it was. I haven't got one.
I was like, oh, it's a cute kid.
See, that looks great already.
Yes, it does. That looks really good.
I think we just needed that little pop on the left with a bit more bright green in there and a bit of gold maybe. Yeah. Brilliant. So we can come into here and this is where I can start to play around with the exposure. And I haven't got my stylus on.
Where you might be able to, that pot that's gray, you could you can probably take so the pot that's gray that's on the left-hand side, you might be able to, so Snapseed in the brushes, it has a temperature brush. And if you use the temperature brush at +10, it makes things yellow. So sometimes you can make something look.
I have to go right in, but I probably need my stylus for this.
Right. But you may be able to turn that pot pretty much gold
Yeah.
if you just go over it with it. Do you see what's happening there?
Mm. Nice
So,
and quick.
so if
No
with your
excuse for not editing when you kind of can do something that quickly, is there? It's
right. But that's something where, once you do that and you back out of it, look at that, right?
much better.
Ta-da!
Apart from the cloud that's hanging over it all, but
And then if you use the exposure brush just a little bit in the pluses on the greenery that's in that pot, you can probably brighten up just the greenery
Mhm.
itself and
I think I'm the wrong way. Yeah.
yeah, and make it a little, try +7, see what happens.
Yeah.
And you can make it a little bit more, you can make it pop a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, I might even go in and do it in Photoshop perhaps, and then just outline it and because you completely change the color
What I'm
then.
saying is you can just it's brilliant because you can kind of manipulate colors.
Yeah. And you can also brighten up the interior of sort of, if you can't.
Especially inside cabinets.
Yeah. Just give that a bit more lightness just
to brighten it up and even out the lighting. And then you can hit the check mark, save it, and go back in. And then if you want, right, you can fool around with the colors of the color values of the staging props, all kinds of different things.
Yeah, it's quite nice to bring the leaves out a little bit. They just go
exactly,
just lighten those off. Yeah, and I often do. There's not enough floor here probably, but if my floor could do with a bit of mopping, but not when you've got Snapseed, because you can just obviously go across there and lighten the floor off and
the other thing too is you might we should maybe take that front leaf out that's on the right and leave just the 2, and let's see what that
does. I should have done this all in one go. I've now got a weird cloud. What's that? Take this one off. Yeah.
Just that front leaf out.
Yeah, it's popping forward too far.
Because it just might that might lighten it up just a little bit.
Mm. You mean cut that out and remove it, as in don't include it in the photo?
Yeah, well, just remove it from the container.
Yeah, got you. Yeah.
But you can mess around, and that little glass that's up top, you can make that color more similar to the color of the inside of the cabinet.
Yeah.
Lightening it, you could with this, you could really have a play in editing and make it look excellent.
Yeah. And once you've got that stylus, girls, honestly, you just find yourself sitting there coloring in all your pictures because that's the problem with the lights hitting no matter how dark your wall is. You get that glare off it, so it just helps the background sort of disappear by doing that. Obviously, you do the whole thing and you zoom in around all the
pinch and zoom. And
I'm getting tweets from Piers Morgan. Right, I'm just going to come out of here and we'll come back to, and I just check whether there's some questions from people because it's be time for that. Let's just do stop sharing. I'll have to do it here, I think. Let's just do, how do I get that to stop sharing? There we go. There we are, back in the room. So let me just check in the chat. I think we're all good for the questions in the Q&A. Let me just have a look. There's more than one place to ask things. No, all good. All right, I'm just going to nip across and just check the live, see if it's still running. I don't know what Facebook's like. So if you've got any questions, ladies, please just fire away. I've got a couple of things actually I will just quickly share with you. I can't even see the live in the group. But there's some weird things been happening in the group, like the way that the display announcements has changed. It seems to be hiding them. I can't even see. Oh, there we go. Hi, Sue. I can see some other people in there now. That's great. Sue Tucker says, nice to see you, Judy.
Hi.
And who else is there? Sue asks, do you always take your photo in square?
I don't. Instagram and Facebook, they all prefer square-ish photos, but not necessarily square. I feel like if you do that, it takes away a lot of options for you as far as editing options. So the first thing that I would always say is fix your perspective first, because you need all the flexibility that you can get when you're adjusting the size and all of that stuff. So you want that space.
Mhm.
And there are so many people that tend to really crop in way too closely, and it's kind of like having, having just like, it's too much. Like you want the furniture to be the star of the show, but again, a close up so you
But
can
not like
see
it's breathing
the
in.
furniture, not a good idea.
Yeah,
Right.
I was holding on to the thing that somebody said to me years ago about let the furniture breathe, so it's just kind of going, rather than oops, like I've just squeezed myself in here.
Exactly. You don't want it like squishy. So if you, and then the other thing to keep in mind is whenever you're going to post, if the furniture is actually in the middle of the photo with the breathing room all the way around, it will always be okay. So so you don't want it to look like you're on the other side of the room, taking the picture from maybe like the neighbor's house next door through the window, but there's a happy medium in there. So if you adjust your perspective first, and then you crop in so that, like in Nikki's case, like she would take out when she would fix her perspective, make that look pretty. Then she would crop out the sides so she doesn't have the plants in there, and do the general crop. And then you're going to go on and do all of your edits. And then at the very last, then take a look and save that one before you do your final crop. And then you do your final crop to make sure it's where you want it to be, and that the furniture is centered in the.
Yeah. That's why I'm not bothered about having all this other stuff in the shot, because I know I can get rid of it. It's got plenty of.
Yes, and so, but definitely, that you're really, really limited if you try to force it into a square right away. It's gonna, a lot of people don't have the space to get back far enough, and like I said, I just think it's better done in final, and it just needs to be square-ish. It doesn't have to be a perfect square.
No. Yeah, getting far enough back was a massive problem for me when I worked in my garage. And for some reason, I set my staging wall up across the width. So I was always flat up against the wall trying to take pictures. And it is, to get back further is, and I think that's why a lot of my pictures, the light's dazzling off the piece and I don't have quite the quality.
Yeah. And that's where if you could control the brightness of the lights, if you have a small space, that's advantageous to you because you can't pull them back farther away.
And I found that the quality of the image was suffering because there's so much, the image doesn't pick up the,
And it's ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous sometimes. I in my old house, I had the wall was like 7.5 feet, and I had a piece that was literally, there was 2 inches of wall on either side. I went out to my porch, opened up the window, pulled out the screen, and I was out, literally outside my house, taking the window to try to make enough wall space so that I could grab it and use the expand tool to make it big enough. So it's always a challenge, but if you feel like you don't have enough breathing room, then obviously back up if you possibly can.
Yeah.
And there's a new feature, at least on the iPhone cameras, where it will auto start at 1 time the size, but you can hit 0.5. So the lens draws itself back if you can't.
Yeah.
So that's also
a great tip. That's a great tip. Yeah.
You can do that as well if you're in a tight space.
There is a feature on the Android, but when it does it, you end up with a bit of a tunnel-like effect. I've noticed a lot of estate agents using it, or real estate agents using it, and then the rooms look really long and thin. Yeah. So you've got to use it sparingly. It's a bit distorting.
Yeah, and it's, and that's the thing is, it just really, if you can, that's something to remember for your camera settings, is make sure that HDR is turned off, because HDR is high definition resolution, and it's going to blend multiple shots into one, which that might be fine for your shot outdoors of your friend, but if for a piece of furniture, it'll reduce the quality of the image.
Yeah.
So you always want to make sure that's off, and you also want to make sure live is off. So those things.
Yeah. I guess your furniture is not moving, is it? Unlike, human beings. So we should be able
to do that. But on the other hand, if you're moving, then it makes it blurry. So so HDR always should be set to off, and you can do that in your settings, and you can do that in your camera. on the iPhones. I have a struggle with the Droids because they're all so different that sometimes you just have to Google to find out how do you turn that feature off, or how do you turn on the grid or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I had just with kind of conscious of time, but I had a few quick last questions from people who couldn't make it tonight. And just as a bit of like I like a pop quiz, I guess, suggestions for, and obviously I know it's very much about being in in the situation with me, but people have just shared a couple of pieces and says, just a couple of tips, I guess, and pointers about what they might need to look for because their pieces may be a bit funky. So I'm just going to quickly share, if you don't mind, if you've got any sort of starters for 10 of what maybe they could look for. Let's see if I can find the right place again. Let's just share my screen. Share, and then that's sharing everything. So this is Jackie's, and Jackie, I think, is watching. She's just had an operation, so she's managed to watch it. Well done, and I hope you're okay. So this is a funky coffee table, and she was asking about, sort of style direction for sort of staging this. And I personally find coffee tables quite difficult because we're meant to shoot straight on, and obviously all the detail is on the top. So it's quite an interesting one.
That's really pretty, though. So and that brings up a good point, is that straight on is usually, you have to, your client has to like the form and the function of the piece. So you have to let them see what that is, because even if the top is super cool, they're not going to buy it unless they need a coffee table, or they need a dresser, or a sideboard, or a drinks cabinet, whatever. So they need to see the form to see if it will provide the function that they're looking for. So, but with a coffee table that's really cool like this, I guess I think I would go with a couple of books, like some black books. If you had black books that have silver lettering, because you've got that charcoal gray in there, that would be super cool. You could use some actual oranges with this, because the orange of the color of the top, and oranges are kind of, they're round, they're very sculptural looking. So you could do,
very modern.
You could do an orange on top of the book, an orange on the surface, and then maybe some sort of something on top of the book with the orange, like a piece of white pottery, or some cool, a lot of people have some funky, like I've seen all kinds of something, a silver elephant, a little monkey, or, I've seen rhinoceros. One girl has an armadillo. It's like,
I struggle to find those unusual things, and I see other people, I'm thinking, where do you find these things? That's why I end up with golden pears that I don't actually ever use. Yeah, armadillo sounds great.
But so yeah, and so what you can do is you can do your main shot, and then you could do it on an angle and pull the left side forward, and then take it straight on, but of the piece itself angled, but you are facing the wall square. So you could do something like that. So you'd pop up and get a little bit of a glimpse of the top, and then obviously I'd love to do detail shots of the pattern on the top and everything.
Yeah, definitely. I like to get really close in so people can see the quality of the work as well, because when it's as crisp as that, you need to show how good you are at something, because
the quality. I could never do that. Those are some straight lines right there.
Yeah, well, look at these ones. This is our lady in Australia, Carrie. She's actually popped a couple of pieces in. She said this one's not quite finished, so don't zoom in. She hasn't put a finish on the top yet, but I suppose it's a similar thing, isn't it? That's going to get shot really from the front to start with, nested. And accessorized, and then you'll go into detail shots.
But something that's cool is you can paint, if you have books, you can paint them.
Oh yes, I have, yeah.
You can paint a few books and kind of stack them in the colors that are on the piece, and then do one, like something that's like a bright pop of color. So I would try to repeat those colors in the staging if possible. Or if you have a piece of pottery that you can, that you can paint, but you don't need a whole lot for something.
That's true.
Like a few books and a little something, would look super cool.
And so you're saying for these pieces that the lead shot, when you're listing something, is going to be front on. Yeah.
Because
I understand it.
Because I mean, have you?
That's how I've always done it. Yeah, but it's good to sort of.
You just have to think about it, and you have to think, well, no matter how pretty the top was of something, if I didn't need the furniture itself, I wouldn't buy it.
Yeah,
You know,
that's it. I mean, from this angle, sorry, Kerry, to say, but is it coasters? Is it placemats? It's like, I know your feet are in there, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, you need to see the form.
right. But if you can, but when you do nesting tables, so if the lower one was pushed in a little bit more, you could do an angle shot from like the left side,
Yeah.
as long as it was straight, and do the books on the top right kind of angled towards that front, and pop up enough so that you would have a hint of the color and the pattern.
Yeah.
Like that has a lot of different opportunities. Nesting tables, because they're tiered, they kind of present a different opportunity than a lot of other furniture.
Yeah, you get that peeping aspect, don't you, of the pattern coming through.
So that I have some examples of those that are done really well, that you can, that the person has popped up just a little bit.
Just a little just to get up and over rather than just level. Yeah. Well, we can play around with that in the group. I think she sent another one. You can see that we like geometric stuff. Judy, can you see the theme?
I mean, it's beautiful and it's modern.
Yeah, it's lovely. I haven't looked at this one closely before myself, actually. Very nice, echoing with the handles.
Yeah. So I think if we had a little bit different greenery in the pot of greenery, maybe something that's also maybe a little kind of more geometric, like maybe a little bit spiky.
Yeah.
That would bring it up a little bit taller and echo the spike of the pineapple.
Yeah, definitely.
Really cool. Or you could, if you've got spiky grass, you could put in the lighter gold container and just use that, and then add maybe a lemon, because is it a drinks cabinet or a dresser?
I think it's a sideboard.
Okay.
Yeah. Or dresser.
Either way, but something like that. And then also, just as a matter of course, when you look at this shot, we just want to see a nice clean line across the top rather than all those angles. It's not a clean shot for the eye. So when you're looking at this shot, you'd want to adjust the tilt, you'd want to straighten out the sides.
You almost don't see the top surface, do you? You only see like a line.
Right. You just want that nice clean line across the top, because I call them wings, but when you've got those flares on the side, it's just disturbing for your eye, and it makes the piece of furniture look like it's a little wonky, and so people are kind of afraid of, like, okay, if you're buying renewed or redesigned,
we don't want it wonky.
You don't want it warped, you don't want it wonky, so to make a buyer feel good about purchasing, a really good, nice square shot is really,
I try to remain it to like a rule of thumb that I'm going to see the base of my piece. If it starts to disappear, I'm too low, and if I start to see the surface it's on as well, then I'm too high. I think I've got that. But,
you're not going to lose the bottoms of the staging items.
Just literally be level with the
exactly. But you do want that nice, like a nice clean line, rather than seeing like the flares on the sides.
Yeah. And if you haven't got a stool like mine, you can get good thigh burn trying to get right at the right level for taking your pictures, because it's
I used to get down on one, I would get on one knee.
Oh, that's very sensible. Yeah, I never thought about that. I'm usually like quivering legs.
Kind of, and then you can kind of balance. You can kind of balance that way.
Yeah.
But getting on a stool or a chair is a really that's a pro tip right there, because if you're just trying to
whizzing around doing the lights, it's good. But a tripod is also helpful if you are struggling with the tipping and the lining stuff up. It helps, to just.
But that's a fantastic piece, and with a really good photo, that's a fantastic.
Yeah, it's a good one. Thank you. I'm sure they'll find that extremely useful. Marvelous. Let me just double check, because obviously I'm conscious that we've got to after 8:30. Let me just double check. Oh, I've lost the meeting. Oh, I need to stop sharing. That's why. must be time to go home. Kelly says it's been fascinating and very useful, and now I know I've been going wrong. Thank you so much, Judy and Nikki. But you haven't been going wrong, Kelly. This is why I've joined with Thrive. It's like, because we're always learning, and we can always pick up tips and increase, expand what we're doing. So I'm glad it's been useful, but you're not doing it wrong. It's just, it's a process, and I'm still learning, as you've seen. So,
and
yeah.
You know what? And honestly, like I learn things. It's really something where that's the goal, is to teach someone something new, another tool for the toolbox every single time. Is, there's just there's so many aspects to staging, lighting, photography, and editing. it, it's really, really hard to be good at everything. What you have to be in this business, you have to be insanely, you have to be a great painter, you have to be
jack of all trades, as we say.
As a marketer, you have to be a promoter, you have to be you have to be everything. So there's so many hats that if it's something that you have a hard time with, or you struggle with, come on and join the group. It doesn't cost very much. The most important thing that you can possibly do to help your business be successful is to have beautiful photos.
Yeah. And I think now more than ever, because since the pandemic, I think the number of people in the business is, and this is how you differentiate yourself, as you say, you create your own look, your own brand, your own style. And so, yeah, absolutely. I will share a link afterwards.
Apart from like the professionals versus the amateurs. And so when you
make that scroll stopping shot,
you are an amazing painter. If you have terrible photos, you're not helping yourself, so, and it's something that you can do it, you can learn it. It's not, but it just takes somebody saying, hey, make sure you have the right settings. Hey, let's check.
It's that outside perspective, that other pair of eyes, isn't it? And just the little reminders. Definitely.
And a lot of times it's something like ridiculous, like, oh, hey, you forgot to put the handle down on the pole, or, oh my gosh, there's a giant, blob of your dog's hair on the floor. And another, like, and this is like a pro tip, is the more healing that you have to do with Snapseed, the more it degrades the color of your piece. Okay, so it will cause, if you have a solid colored piece and you have to do a ton of healing because there's a mess here and there's a mess here and there's all kinds of stuff. So it's always, if you do have to use the healing tool, use it as minimally as possible and pinch and zoom so that you're just doing a speck rather than a large blob, because however many pixels you're removing, what will happen is it'll cause the color to kind of mesmerize, and it will turn, sometimes it turns a green, will get like blue blotches.
I've seen little streaks appear when I've done a quick healing tool and I haven't zoomed in much, and it just kind of gets this weird flecks.
Yes, so it messes up the color. So so see if you can sweep your floors and
I swept this floor before I came on camera, so
just to do all the things that you possibly can. And then, like I said, if you're going to
always have glass cleaner nearby with a cloth.
and pinch and zoom and use it as minimally as possible. And that way that'll give you the best, the best result. But it's so much fun to collaborate with people because the pieces they produce are amazing. And it's really nice to kind of bring that out and to see, and just to see the difference in the before and afters. And it's
very creative as well, because, that's part for me. I would like to be featured more in magazines, and my pictures haven't really been picked up that much. And I think it's because they're not quite there. And so to be able to work, and so I'm looking forward to doing some more sort of editorial stuff with you, because you can actually sort of say, this is for sale, this is for my portfolio, this is something I'd like to kind of make a bit of a, whatever you call it.
There's a lot of we have a lot of people that are brand ambassadors or premiering certain colors of paints, and we do it on the side so that it can be kept under wraps until it's ready for its big reveal and all that stuff. But it's really about working together to get a look that you're happy with. It's not about we may tell you what to do as far as move this here, move this there, but it needs to be your style and reflect your.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's it. You don't want everybody to look the same. You want to be able to differentiate and stand out. Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for spending the time. And it's like, I guess, lunchtime at where you are. So it's very.
Yes, 12:30.
Thank you, Judy. You're so kind and generous with your time. I will drop a link in if you let me know which is the best link to share with the group. So
sure.
they can.
And you know, I'm happy to offer special pricing for your group. So you know, we would love to work with whoever is interested and wants to. Oh, here, Yvonne asked a question. Should we answer it? She asked a question about the logo.
Oh, are you watching? Where did you see that?
It's in an answer.
I think I'm looking at the Q&A. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's in that.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. So I tend to put mine between the bottom of the legs of the piece. I can actually, yeah, I can show you an example.
And that's the thing is it always needs to,
this is one of mine.
Which is brilliant, right? Because it always needs to be about the furniture and not about the logo. So, you know, I've seen logos that are tremendous size and they're bigger than the pieces of furniture. You're not selling your logo.
Yeah. I've also noticed some people putting it into the staging. So it actually almost ends up balancing the staging. And I just wonder, and it can look really good. So it's not really a negative or positive thing. I'm just observing it really.
Yeah. And sometimes, and that's something where, if you have kind of a modern aesthetic and you have more of a, you know, and don't feel like you have to have a fancy logo. You can just choose PicMonkey, the app, the free app. They have tons and tons of beautiful fonts. You can pick a nice font and use it consistently, and that can be fine. A font is really, with your business name, super easy to manipulate, make it bigger, smaller.
Change the color.
Right, change the color. You can move it to the floor. You can bring it up top. So I have seen a lot of times, like I'll suggest if someone's got a long linear piece and they've got their grouping on the left, well, sometimes we just run the logo right across the top, right adjacent to the grouping on the left.
Nice.
And really nice. Sometimes if there's a lot going on, we'll just run it literally like up the side of the piece. You know, it's not really supposed to be a front and center sort of thing. It's just supposed to be like a footnote.
Yeah, and as a watermark, I guess the idea is it's meant to not, it's usually faded in some way. It's usually more transparent.
And in PicMonkey and most of the apps, you can change the opacity.
Yeah.
So that it's not quite so bold. And sometimes, you know, I'll tell people, hey, try a couple of options for placement.
Yeah.
You know? And then do 3 different options, and then walk away for a second.
Yeah. See which is the best balance.
You feel like, because it shouldn't be the thing that stands out. The furniture should be the thing.
Yeah. I feel for me that the advice I was giving to people is, you know, you don't want it in the top left-hand corner. I mean, I know that anybody can take something into a photo editing application and erase your watermark if they want to, but we tended to try and put it somewhere that wasn't easy just to crop it off, you know, copy paste, and just remove it sort of ends up being somewhere that's.
Yeah. And I mean, there's different schools of thought on that. I saw several pieces of my furniture on I think it was on Pinterest, and they have an Etsy shop in South America, and they were my pieces, and they had okay, so what am I gonna do about it? I don't care. I mean, I guess I was like, oh well, okay, I guess, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't always put watermarks on. Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, they're not they're in South America. I'm not my competition. So,
no. And the other thing to say for people, you know, is that you will find that pictures won't necessarily be picked up and used by journalists, even credited to you with it's got a watermark on it. They won't use it. So there's 2 schools of thought there as well. It's like, you know, when you're sharing high-res images with, you know, anybody, they won't use it with a watermark.
I mean, I think the bottom line is if somebody's going to use it for ill intent, they're going to
do it. Yeah, they are. They are.
Regardless. So I think that you just need to make it be in a complementary.
Yeah, it's great to have it there for a marketing purpose on things that you're sharing so that people can see your name. But I think I wouldn't worry about it like, oh my God, if I don't watermark it, somebody will steal it. It's like, well, they're going to, if they want it, they will do that
Right.
anyway.
And that's the other thing too, is I think for me, it just doesn't belong on the furniture, because the buyer needs to be able to see the furniture as and not be confused with, well, what is, I've seen some where it looks like there's
a design
furniture or something's scratched or whatever. So, I always do it clear of the furniture. And I agree with you, for the most part, down below is really a good, when in doubt, put it down below.
Put it down below. Yeah.
That's what I would go with.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that too. So let me just see. I think we're good for questions over in, I like to keep things complicated. So yeah, we're good for questions over there. And Yvonne says, thank you so much to both of you. I've learned loads. So that is fantastic to hear. Thank you very much. So yes, I'll share the links if you let me know where the best place to send people is, so they can have a little explore. Yeah, and thank you so much. I'm ready to go with my piece now. So it's like a personal tutorial.
I think you're gonna have fun with editing in that one. Just have a play. I think it'll look really, really good.
Yeah, well, it was a bit daunting for me, just the size and shape of it. So it's like that. No matter how much experience you've got, there's still pieces where you think, oh my goodness. So yeah,
but that's why a second set of eyes is helpful. Is it just
absolutely,
and a lot of times I'll say, well, this could be like an epic fail, but let's try this, and it works out. So
exactly.
Sometimes the best things are just brainstorms that you just give it a whirl and see what happens. So
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you so much, Judy. I really appreciate it. And enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. Bye.